All right, and welcome in, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome to Mount Rushmore Mondays. I am your host, Mr. Nick Teodoro, where every week we debate subjectively your top four, our top four, your Mount Rushmore. So, welcome to Mount Rushmore Mondays.
Who's your hero? Who's your king? Who's the one that makes you swing? Four faces carved in stone, the legends that we all own. Power slams and flying knees. Who brings the crowd down to its knees? Mount Rushmore Mondays. Who's your top four? Legends at the ring, leave you wanting more. Mount Rushmore Mondays, standing tall, the greatest of all time. They've answered the call.
All right. Welcome back in. If you're new here, super kick the old like and subscribe. Every week that I do Mount Rushmore, I like to bring in a special co-host to make it fun. I knew if we're going to do a Mount Rushmore for AEW, especially the male side of things, definitely not the female side of things, but definitely the male side of things, I had to bring in somebody, an expert on AEW, a lover of AEW. Let's bring her in. Kat. What's up, Kat?
What's up, Nick? What's up, chat?
Kat, the co-host of Lipsticks and Lariats. Kat, you got your own blog, your own channel. Tell everyone where they can find you here before we get started.
You can find my blogs at themidpodcast.com, and you can find my podcast anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, wherever, and on YouTube at the Mid Podcast 6436.
All right, Kat. A lot of great content there. Kat, are you ready? Mount Rushmore. Oh, I'm excited. Because I know when we did our pre-production meeting, because some people come to production meetings every once in a while.
Nikki always comes to my production meeting, so I don't know what it is about your production meeting she does not like.
She just doesn't. I don't know. Do you have cookies? You must have cookies.
I have something. I don't know.
It's probably cookies. But that being said, you surprised me nonetheless with the list. So I am very excited to see who is on your Mount Rushmore for AEW. So chat, put yours in the chat there. We're going to throw up ours as we go and see if they're worthy. We want to see if the chat thinks they're worthy. But Kat, ladies first. Your first selection for your Mount Rushmore for AEW.
All right, my first selection, and it pains me to say this because I'm not a fan of this person, but I took my bias out of making my decisions, and it is Orange Cassidy, who I titled as AEW's unconventional workhorse.
Interesting. And why do you say that unconventional workhorse?
Well, I mean, he originally is just like makes a difference. You can throw him in with anybody and you can get a fairly decent match, even though I'm not a fan. His wrestling isn't that bad. I don't get the character, but still. And, he kind of had his international championship reign transformed into a comedy act. So he went from, oh, I'm a silly person to, hey, I can win a title and kind of look credible.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, this one, when you told me, I thought this might have been the biggest shock for me on your list. But I could see why, because he to your point, like he does have great matches with everybody. He performs phenomenally in the ring. He knows how to get a reaction out of the audience, and there's moments that like he's not your traditional, like when you think Mount Rushmore, like main eventer, whatever. But in terms of, yeah, to your point, workhorse, mid-carder, a guy who's really keeps you interested in what he's doing at all times. And especially when, I look at it in a lens of like just entertaining and backstage segments, he's super entertaining on that front too. So yeah, I mean, I can see a justifiable case for you. And he's been someone who's been there since the very beginning.
He also represents AEW's promise that unconventional wrestlers can succeed without abandoning the qualities that make them distinctive.
Interesting. Well put. I like that. Yeah.
Sorry,
Very
it's
solid.
my academia brain.
I know you're leveling us up over here.
I don't mean to be the smartest person in the room, as I tell my mother sometimes. It just happens to be that way.
Well, it's never me.
I used to say that about people when I used to go to my mom's church. I used to say that. I'd be like, I hate being the smartest person in the room in here. Because she goes to like a country bumpkin church.
Oh, that's fair. Oh, Kat. Well, for my first selection, and the chat actually agrees with you here. The poll says OC should be on the Mount Rushmore there. So for my first selection, and I know I shouldn't get any pushback from you on this one. I'll go with Kenny Omega. Because to me, and not necessarily in any particular order, but to me, Kenny Omega is the type of guy that not only has he been a multiple-time world champion in the company, but he's also found ways, I think, to bridge what AEW has done so many times over the last, 5+ years with New Japan since the very beginning. Like, he was the first megastar to come over from, international, from New Japan to come to AEW. He added instant credibility beyond what they had there that were ex-WWE transfers or releases, right? He was a wrestler in the prime of his career, a main eventer in the prime of his career, offering legitimacy to a company that wants to be the best wrestling company in the world. But do you have any particular Kenny Omega memorable AEW moments? The cleaner, belt collector Kenny?
I remember conning my mother into buying tickets to go see AEW in Norfolk last year just because Kenny Omega was going to be there for my birthday. The show was in April. My birthday was in June. And it was like, I think that was the first time I'd seen him live. Because every time I have gone, he has either been in Japan or was out injured. So I'm like, I am not freaking missing him.
Yeah, I think,
and I get what you're saying. Like, he's like one of the foundations of the company.
Yeah, I just
he's
felt
got
like
the look. He's got the in-ring ability.
Yeah, it was everything that AEW needed at that time, with offering legitimacy to, because everyone who comes out, oh, I'm starting a wrestling promotion, whatever, and like you always see some big investor over the years that always does that, and then it falls flat on their face. And you need someone who was in the prime of their career that could offer legitimacy, and that's what I thought, Kenny Omega did. Chat seems to agree on that. I wonder when we start getting into our controversial takes, but I think maybe your first one was controversial as well there, Kat. Who do you got for number 2?
Number 2, we're going to go with AEW's homegrown identity, Darby Allin.
This one I'm a little... actually, I don't know. I think this might be probably the one I expected the most from you. Why do you like Darby so much?
Well, he helped AEW turn him in from a independent prospect to a nationally recognized star. And he has built much of his mainstream identity inside the company. He's got like that odd appearance, physical style. I mean, the man is not afraid to die, evidently, with all the risk that he's willing to take to put the company on the map.
It's true, and he's now Grand Slam champion. right? Is he the only Grand Slam champion? Like that's what I thought is so crazy about. Like you talk about a guy like we were just your first pick with Orange Cassidy. Like here's Darby Allin, a guy who worked his way up and down everywhere in the card, and he's found his way to have feuds that didn't revolve around the title that were actually interesting. For one way or another, everyone loves Darby. Nikki's like she gets it, but she's just over him.
I mean, I was at the Revolution where Sting retired and Darby went through that glass off that ladder.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. He's crazy. And he also represents like the alternative culture, which is the whole identity of what AEW is supposed to be.
True. Yeah. No, that's a good point. And I thought it was interesting how, like he was the first opponent that CM Punk called out when he first went there. He's like, I thought Darby Allin was me as a teenager. I would really love Darby Allin. Like he'd be my favorite wrestler. And it's like, yeah, it is like you need something unique that'll draw in viewers. And Darby Allin does. He does do a lot of crossover stuff with all the Tony Hawk stuff that he does. Even though I didn't know. I don't know if skateboarding is as big as it was in the 90s anymore, but for what it's worth, you do need that, and I do appreciate when there's a star that's got a crossover, or someone who's trying to do some crossover stuff. So, speaking of crossovers, I'll go with number 2. By the way, the chat says no to Darby Allin. For Mount Rushmore. But speaking of crossovers and AEW, but as I mentioned, speaking of crossovers and people in AEW, I think who cross over pretty well. Someone who has ventured into the movie scene. For me, one of the pillars has to be the biggest homegrown star in AEW history, MJF, with his big, beautiful belt.
He's really not the champion right now, though.
No. But talking about his career, he's a four-time champion? Yeah, 4-time world champion for AEW. From the day he walked in at, oh my God, was it? Nikki's going to run me. Mickey and I were watching it at Fyter Fest, I think it was. Or was it the original All In? And he came out and they let him cut that promo as a 19-year-old kid. You knew, and he held his own. He didn't have any hiccups or anything to basically like open the show, or one of the key parts in the show. You knew he was going to be a megastar, and AEW has just hitched their rocket to him. And I think there hasn't been anyone that they can. I'd argue that they book better than MJF. I don't know. What do you think, Kat?
I mean, I agree with that. MJF is the heel that either. I kind of put him in the Randy Orton Triple H category. If he was to be a good guy, you would cheer him, but you cheer him as a bad guy too.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, he did that with the Better Than You Baby stuff with Adam Cole, right? Like he proved that he can actually do that. But he's just, to me, it's interesting. Like he showed that versatility to some extent.
But he is much better as the bad guy.
Yeah,
like heel. I just think that's his tendency.
Yeah, it's almost like to me, like Ric Flair. Like it's just, even when Flair came back, like what was he, like the authority figure in WWE, like after that whole merger and all that stuff. It just, I never took Ric Flair seriously in that role. Like I could get some comedic relief every once in a while for him, but it's not going to last beyond like a 1-2 month thing. Like MJF, Ric Flair, those guys just need to be heel. But I think let's see. The chat agrees. MJF deserves a spot on Mount Rushmore here. We're running out of spots pretty quickly. But Kat, who do you got as number 3?
So number 3, I will actually say he's not homegrown, but WWE fumbled the hell out of him, and he became AEW's breakthrough main event star. That would be one Swerve Strickland.
Interesting. And I
put him in this spot because he deserves the position. And his journey through his wrestling career demonstrates what can happen when someone recognizes a wrestler's potential and the response to the audience demand.
Ooh. No,
And he wasn't like picked to be the centerpiece, but he just gradually elevated himself through his character development, rivalries, and just dropping promos that you were like, damn.
yeah, I didn't really like talking about someone that can really come over and just change your perception of them and how they were used and just being booked properly. Like, yeah, he was given the opportunity to show his personality and like what he wanted to be, the vicious, for lack of a better term, the killer that he wanted to be on screen. And I think it says a lot, although I do think we're heading towards him eventually, sooner rather than later having some sort of faction. But I think it says a lot when AEW particularly books someone without a faction behind them for a period of time. Because there's so many people that are associated with so many different factions that like everyone, it's kind of like New Japan, that component. Like everyone has some sort of alliance somewhere. And when there's one person that's off on their own, they feel like they can do big things by themselves, no matter where they put them. And usually it's someone who could, like Hangman Page, they did that a lot. Like when they were trying to push him for the world title, like MJF doesn't really, like at one point in time he had a stable, but again, you just know he's generally by themselves. And that's what I really appreciate about Swerve.
And Swerve is also AEW's first Black World Champion.
True, yeah.
And then with his foot into like the music industry and whatnot, he's one of your crossover stars too. That if I'm Tony Khan, I ain't got no problem sending Swerve out representing AEW at a movie premiere or some music awards show or whatever.
That's true. That's true. Did I put it? All right, in that poll here. No, yeah, it's true. He does great with media and everything else, and yeah, like when you think about, I didn't even think about that.
And he also represents growth, representation, which is something wrestling needs, and breaking through the established hierarchy of wrestling, which I'll have a whole section devoted to him in my dissertation.
Well, Kat, you talk about breaking through. Well, someone who broke through. He broke through the shackles of WWE and came over to AEW. To me, one of my pillars, Jon Moxley. I can't not put him on my Mount Rushmore. I felt like when you talk about crossing over, and when I spoke about Kenny Omega and what Kenny Omega brought in terms of legitimacy to the main event picture, that New Japan element, someone in the prime of his career. Same thing with Jon Moxley. Coming over as he was still in the prime of his career. He had easily 10, 15 years left in him in WWE. They would have booked him till the cows came home. And him showing up, his debut moment, giving the paradigm shift to Chris Jericho, like it changed the game because it showed, hey, this is a place that now it's not just like a fad. This is a place that you want to be, that people want to be in the prime of their career. They're not just coming to collect a check. And I think it completely changed the game when Jon Moxley showed up.
I agree with that.
Do you have any Mox memories? I know now with the Death Riders, he's kind of, maybe losing a little bit of his steam and momentum. But do you have any Mox memories here in AEW?
So our first trip to Norfolk, Brendan's like, I want front row seats. Okay. Well, I ain't paying front row seats. So we get front row on the lower bowl. So we are right at the corner where Moxley comes out when he makes his entrance that night. And I didn't even realize it. And then Brendan's like, yeah, Mom, I don't mind these front row seats.
By the way, that's one component that I'll never not appreciate and pop for. Like him and the Shield, like doing that whole, they reinvigorate the whole crowd entrance of the last decade plus. to me, and just and the Wild Thing introduction, like that music, bringing that component back of just an unhinged,
Yeah, Brendan
unfiltered
actually
violence.
heard the original Wild Thing because he always thought like the song was Moxley's song, and when he heard the original one, he's like, "This one sucks."
So to me, like that's what made me laugh. I always think about. I don't know about you. I thought immediately about Major League.
I'm just hungry.
Oh yeah, I
Like
hate
Major
this
League.
fucking song when she says that.
Yeah, but like Ricky Vaughn, like that was just.
Yes, we can quote that movie.
But
Yeah,
like
my
that.
mother gets mad. Me and Brendan will be like, we'll all three be going to dinner or something, and me and him just start quoting movies, and she's just like out of the blue. Just, I don't know what y'all talking
My
about.
brother and I go golfing every once in a while, and we always says hats for bats.
Mm-hmm.
That's his favorite
You
one.
know,
Hats
help
for
me
bats.
now, Jabu. Fuck you. I do
Yeah.
it myself. You're
Yeah.
telling me Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball?
I wouldn't leave a bottle open of rum around here. It's very bad to mess with Jobu's rum.
Yep. You might run like Maze, but you hit like shit.
Yeah. Oh,
That
was
has to be
rad.
the best baseball movie.
Yeah, I think so. That'd be a good one to rank.
Although the
That's definitely
second
on
one
Mount
kind of
Rushmore.
sucked, but
I like the second one. There's just it was very anticlimactic because both of them I don't think they ever really like they don't really win the World Series, so it's kind of funny that they just kind of win the division and then get to the playoffs and then one of them, which is interesting, or win the ALCS or something. But anyway, I
well, I have
digress.
a question. If Moxley would have stayed in WWE, how do you think he would be booked right now?
Trying to think.
Knowing
of who I
how
could
their
compare.
creative is at the moment.
Right now, actually, I think he'd be booked pretty well right now because I think they're letting like look at how Orton and like the Cody feud is escalating. Like a lot of the stuff that they're allowing, like Jacob Fatu. I mean, yeah, I know you're doing like bloodline stuff, but like Jacob Fatu, some of the younger guys, they're allowing them to do a lot more now. And Rollins got away with more later in his career too. I think at this point in time, he'd be a guy who had been so tenured at WWE that they'd give him a little more creative freedom.
You think he could be on the same par as like the Roman Reigns? He could do pretty much what he wanted to.
Not, I think he'd be on like I think Roman's on like another level. I think like I think Roman because of the family ties is just a different. I think he'd be on like the Seth Rollins level where like they'd give him a lot of say and he'd be working with a lot of the younger guys and they'd be more. I think the roster would be more receptive to him and more willing to do what he'd want to do. But yeah, I mean, he wouldn't. Would he have been as successful as he was in AEW? Probably not, because WWE's model is just to kind of keep you stagnant. You know, it's cyclical. You have your momentum, whereas AEW they'll book some people and just keep them at the top of the card, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because some people deserve to be up there. But Kat, who is number 4?
Number 4. I'm going to need everybody to sit down when I announce this one. Because our number 4, for me, none other than Eddie Kingston.
I can't believe this was the biggest shock. Kat, why is Eddie Kingston on your list?
Well, we have few wrestlers that represent AEW's emotional identity more completely than Eddie Kingston, or as I like to call him, Eddie Burger Kingston. He doesn't look, speak, or behave like your manufactured corporate wrestler. He just has like that connection with the audience. Like your fat uncle's like, hey, he looks like me. I can become a wrestler. And he just has like that real feel connection with the audience.
That's fair. Yeah, like the everyday kind of, which is I think a similar effect that I think Kevin Owens has in WWE in a lot of ways. And who's the new guy in NXT? Mason Rook. Like, they're going for that similar component. But to me, when you mentioned this, I thought that was interesting. I was like, I was at first super shocked, and then I was like, I can totally understand that, and for a different reason than what you actually laid out, which is a real interesting. That's why I love doing these, because it's a completely different perspective. And to me, Eddie Kingston, for what he does backstage, it could be the same component, you could argue, with the Young Bucks, maybe, or dare I say, maybe spoiler alert, Cody Rhodes, what he did backstage for the company, and how he helped everyone with promo skills, and what he's willing to do to help the roster backstage. I think that's a like kind of an unsung hero role to the roster.
Well, he
Nikki,
represents the wrestler that I think AEW was originally supposed to serve, and that's someone who has talent but lacks the conventional image preferred by like a WWE. But I mean, you can't deny that he's kind of thrived on the national platform that AEW has given him.
no, it's true. Yeah, he's definitely been given the exposure that he didn't have at other promotions, and he's taken the ball and run with it. And I remember, yeah, like his first feud, was it with Mox? I want to say with Mox, yeah, when Mox won the belt, right? And he just came out of nowhere, and he's just like, we have this personal history, but he detailed it out enough for that 1 month buildup, which, for as a guy who is, let's be honest, a transitional challenger for Mox at the time. He showed you why you should care, and it's something that, especially in AEW, I don't think is, and in either promotion, I should say this, is done well enough. Is you have a, let's say, a 3 week or a month build to the PLE, and it's just not done well enough. And there may be history in other promotions or wherever, friendships, whatever it may be, between the two wrestlers, and it's never explored deeply enough until 6 months down the road. And that's where Kingston and Mox, that feud, it got you up to speed quick enough for what it needed to be to put over Mox as champion at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an interesting one, yeah. No, yeah, that one caught me by surprise. Kat, my final pick here may not catch anyone by surprise. We talk about crossover talent, people who legitimize, I should say, can get that word out, AEW, and just absolute superstars, and accomplished a lot in AEW. To me, it's another wrestler who put AEW on the map. Chris Jericho himself. I think from the moment he signed, I think that one of the first two signings that I remember, I know Hangman Page was like second or third, but who cares?
Yeah.
Was I know I'm not going to get any qualms from you about that, but it was him and Jim Ross that I thought immediately made me think, oh, maybe I need to watch AEW a little bit more, and they might get enough traction to where this is going to be a legitimate promotion. And he's a wrestler who constantly reinvents himself. He's brought over personas. Like, I know Reese is out there somewhere. Love the Painmaker. I didn't really particularly love it, but he brought it to AEW, something that in the United States we didn't see, right? He's brought a lot of different characters along the way, and he's put over talent while he's been there. The Inner Circle, you have all that, the talent that he brought along the way. His segments with MJF were great. I see no reason why Jericho wouldn't be on the Mount Rushmore of AEW.
Oh, 100. He would definitely have to be on the Mount Rushmore of AEW. I mean, you would have to like consider him like one of the founding fathers, because they needed like that big name star power to put them on the map, and that's what Jericho gave them.
Yeah, no, it's a fair point on that front. And Kat, I'll leave it up in the chat for a second here, but you made a great point about founding fathers, and I'll go over our lists in a second here, but two of the founding fathers that didn't make either of our lists, the Young Bucks. And I thought that was interesting. You could make a case for them, but to me, like, because the tag division, everything that AEW was predicated on early on. But I don't know, any thoughts on maybe either why people may or may not want them on the Mount Rushmore?
Maybe because they're tag team
Mm,
and not individuals.
yeah.
I mean, you very rarely see them wrestle individually. And I mean, they do get a lot of hate, and I don't understand why. But then you have like their fans who just adore them, and sometimes their fans are just annoying.
Mm. Who? Nikki the Young Bucks. um, but yeah, I mean the other person too is like, we touched on it earlier, like Cody Rhodes. You could definitely put Cody Rhodes, and when you talk about founding fathers, Cody Rhodes was he could be just as influential as Chris Jericho.
Yeah, but I don't think he had the name power that a Chris Jericho had. I mean, everybody knows Cody Rhodes as Dusty Rhodes' son, basically.
Would you compare his impact more to John Moxley or Kenny Omega in terms of contributions for Cody Rhodes to AEW?
I'd probably have to go with Moxley. Because, I mean, if you read the Young Bucks book, they said that it took a while to convince Cody to come along with them.
Mm.
So I'm not sure if I would consider him like a founding father, sort of say that, he had to be convinced that he wasn't really sure. Because I really
That's
think
fair.
his whole plan was to go back to WWE when he hit the Indies anyway. And then AEW come along and, he kind of used it as a stepping stone to get back to WWE. I would love to know, either from him or TK, what really happened and why he left.
Yeah, that story.
I know
Someday
that
that story is
I know
definitely
that
in
NDA is probably going to last for a while.
the door. Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, probably
And I
some
think
point
his
in time in
wife
20 years.
ruined a lot of his credibility with AEW fans that would consider him a founding father.
Oh, interesting. Fair point. Any other honorable mentions you could think about off the top of your head that were like
Honorable
tough decisions? Yeah, like
mentions?
tough decisions. Anyone that you're like, oh, if I had five, I probably would have. I'm trying to think off that. I can't I thought Cody, maybe the Young Bucks. I thought Swerve was a really good one on your end.
Honorable mentions.
Yeah, chat, throw it out there. But I'll throw the call and link out there. See if the chat wants to. Anyone in the chat wants to call and tell us their Mount Rushmore.
If I would have had to put anybody on there, and again taking my bias out, maybe Hangman.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him. Yeah, you mentioned him enough.
And that kills me to say.
I know. Well, Kat, we'll show everyone your Mount Rushmore here. You got OC, Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, Eddie Kingston, a real shocker there, and Swerve Strickland. Not bad at all. Mine, I got Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, John Moxley, and MJF. But let us know out there. Who's your Mount Rushmore? As Rusin comes in the chat. Hey, Rusin.
Yeah, I figured you would pick like the main one, so I was like, I need some alternate ones that are gonna shock people.
Cat's always stirring it up a little bit.
That's what I do.
Oh man, why does Mox look? That's an interesting question. Let me see about this. I don't think so. I don't think it looks like Nicole's brother Danny. Dan Mox. No, he just looks angry, like he normally is. But we'll see. But all right, Gat, we'll close up shop here. If anyone wants to call him, but it doesn't look like that. So, but I appreciate you joining me. This was a fun one. We have to do. Oh wait, hold on. I couldn't get away without getting her in here. Hold on. I'm gonna get in trouble if I don't let this person on. So give me 1 second.
You were like, I'm not doing call-ins, but I'm putting the call-in thing. So I was like, oh, I'll join. And then you're like, oh, I'm not having people in, but Nicole has to come in.
Yes.
Maybe
Because
I'm
I'm a great.
Putting him in the doghouse.
I'm a great husband.
Maybe I'm just
You're a
here to
smart
talk
husband.
cat, not you.
I'm not the smartest husband in the room, but in this case, I am.
The only husband in the room.
Well, I don't know. I think today I'm gonna say that I'm a man.
Unbelievable.
Nikki, he didn't change the criteria though, so
He did not. I am surprised.
So those are little steps toward the right direction.
Because I was worried because it said pillars. And it was like, are you talking about the 4 pillars that were originally the 4 pillars? Are you talking about like founding fathers? Are you talking about like who's carrying the company now? I was
talking about what you put on the bed. What you put on the bed.
Those are pillows, not pillars.
What you put on the bed. You know, you get blankets and pillars.
Then I think we need to write this down. This is the first time that you didn't change the criteria.
Unbelievable.
And then Nick, did you hear me scream when she said Eddie Kingston?
I did not have headphones on that.
No, but I did yell. Jackson was like, "What?"
You might argue they're Nikki canceling headphones.
But I know that everyone's like Chris Jericho, and I get it. But I think if we were talking like just early day Jericho, absolutely, obviously, like he bringing that whole vibe of him, the WWE-ness of him, bringing him in, it makes sense. But now, like the longer that he's been here, then you're like, oh, he's put people over. I'm like, who? Like you're
MJF.
like inner circle. The inner circle is basically not there anymore, and Sammy Guevara is in like ROH hell. Like, and then he hasn't put anybody else over. Like I don't.
Jake
I think
Hager.
Sammy Guevara put himself in ROH hell.
Also probably true. But obviously I like agree with Mox. I think Nick, when you proposed that you and Kat were doing this, I said Mox is basically like my number one. Like I think it changed when he came in, and then just been like basically had the company on his back for how long? Like poor Renee still hasn't gone on vacation, and I will die on that hill that woman needs to go on vacation. Because obviously when all the CM Punk shit happened, they put the belt back on Mox, and he hasn't left. But I think I feel like he cares more about AEW than he probably ever cared about WWE. I think WWE left such a sour taste in his mouth that like I don't see him again. Never say never CM Punk, but like he just feels like he's like AEW for life.
But can he afford to care more because he's like again he's got more control over a lot and it's a smaller company? So
that was the whole thing why he wanted to leave when they did that promo when he was coming out in like the gas mask and he's like all these people are gross and they fake like injected his like he got a shot in the butt like on TV. He like I'm pretty sure that said was like that's when he was just like I need to get out of here. So again, you get creative control, and I feel like he is working like with like people like Yuta and Daniel Garcia. I think that's where he wants to be. So like you said, like the what if, I think he would probably had more world championships, but I think if he was in WWE, he would have like a Death Riders. I think he would want to help like the new kids coming up.
Would he call them the new kids on the block?
Maybe.
Excellent band. I've seen them a couple of times.
They got a bunch of hits. Chinese food makes me sick. Nobody. Anyway, Nikki, who else you got? Who you got on your Mount Rushmore besides Mox?
I'm gonna do Mox. I agree with MJF. Obviously, I think he's just obviously still so flippin' young, and what he brings to the company. Again, the backstage pull that stuff that he does. Like he wanted to have that match with Briscoe. He wanted Briscoe to go over. I think he has such like a mind for the business at being such a young age that like I personally wouldn't want him to go to WWE. I think I'm hoping he's maybe a lifer there. But I think he's one of your main foundations there. And then I don't know. Because then part of me is like, does Jericho? But I'm like, well, Jericho. And then part of me is like Hangman. I think that first rotation, it was like Jericho, Hangman, Pac. Like they were trying to build this company around Hangman.
So as you're saying Hangman, Nikki, I was telling Kat before the show, when I put together her Mount Rushmore, it didn't it didn't recognize originally Kenny. Oh no, my Mount Rushmore. It didn't recognize Kenny Omega. It recognized Kenny Omega as Hangman Page, so it turned Hangman Page into my Mount Rushmore somehow, and it was a very awkward.
You and your, I still think Mox looks like Danny, but whatever.
But I thought of all the shows, of all the people, of all the shows to put into Mount Rushmore.
But again, like Full Gear is called Full Gear because that was a joke about him on, being the elite. I feel like he was such like an early thing that they made the company around, and now he's not in the title scene. But I feel like, does he put more stock in Bandito though? I don't know, but I like him that like he had that run, and now we're doing something else with him.
I think as Rusin, I think so. The rule is we're trying to do AEW Mount Rushmore, so male pillars. So you got Jericho on there, so that could be one of them. Bret Hart was in AEW for one moment. He gave away the belt. He could be considered a pillar.
I know he held it on the wrong.
He was the first holder of the AEW World Title, and
didn't show it on Hurricane, and then almost fell off the stage.
And Reese will die on that hill.
And then for me, I do, I do have to represent our ladies here, and I know you're talking about men, but I feel like nobody. To me, like, what is the male equivalent of Tony Storm? I feel like I need to find that, and that would be like my fourth person.
The
my
male
fourth
equivalent of
Chris Jericho.
But not Jericho. I don't know. When we agree on a male Tony, I don't know.
Male Tony Storm. That's
like,
a good
again,
question.
I don't know if I can. You should put if it's just
that's got to be something I got to cut up and put out there. Like, who is the male equivalent of Tony Storm in AEW? But like, so you're saying that comes over? Well, no, Swerve.
I guess I don't know. Does it
It
feel?
is Swerve. It's Swerve. Cat's description and what we were talking about.
That wasn't getting, that was like good on the indies, came to WWE. WWE did nothing for them, and then went to AEW and became
I think Swerve.
So then maybe it convinced me. Maybe it would be Swerve.
Boom. Did it. So you got Swerve, MJF. You didn't have Jericho.
Hangman. Mox.
All right. Fair enough, Nikki.
I don't know. I feel, because if this pillar tip, again, so literally like founding father, like, I don't know if Young Bucks to me is like a pillar. Like, I don't know. I feel like they had the belts for too long and shoved down our throats a little bit too much, and now I feel like they're slowly getting back in like good graces. But to me, I don't know.
They're not necessarily individually, contributing as much. So I feel you on that. Well, Nikki, I was
just thinking maybe I agree with Omega, but I feel like would it be different if he obviously didn't get sick and it was out for so long? What would he be doing? How would it be? How would he inject into the storylines for that 17 months over?
Yeah.
How he was out.
Yeah, no, that's why. Well, Nikki, well done. I like it.
Oh, Nikki, you need to get on our producer, because you know what he was doing yesterday? Instead of producing our show, he was shopping.
This is a family show. Don't
shopping for what?
I don't know. He just said he was shopping, and he didn't even get the notification that his own channel went live.
Unbelievable.
So I called him a bad producer.
Agree. He hasn't produced. He hasn't produced in over, a month and a half?
He's slack.
He was drinking his depression away because of Manchester United.
Oh, Brendan said he was drinking his depression away because Manchester United lost.
Well, no one cares about soccer.
Well, that's the last time that he produced, because it was the week before, because he did his own stream for the finals. So it was the week before the finals. So what was that?
Yeah, I don't know about Manchester, but he needs to man up and get on his production duties. On that note, Nikki, see you later, maybe.
Bye.
Bye, Nikki.
Oh, Kat. Good times.
Good times. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah, we got to do another Well, we're gonna do the ladies probably at some point in time. Maybe the week of All Out, right? Because
Just
that's
let
in
me know.
September. So
Just
yeah,
let
maybe
me
we'll do
know.
that one. Yeah, we'll bring it back on. Well, Kat, remind everyone where they can find you before we let you get out of here.
Hey, you can find me at themidpodcast.com or on YouTube at themidpodcast6436, where you can see all my videos. And I think I might be picking up the football stuff again this year. I don't know. I have to talk to my son. But we review the week of football in college and professional.
Oh, nice, Kat. Actually, I started my Jets show, so I started doing a Jets show. So we're doing that. We've got football in common. Here we go.
There we go.
Tis the season.
Tis
Well,
the
Kat,
season.
pleasure as always.
Thanks for
joining
having
us.
me. And I will be back to troll you on Friday.
Would expect nothing less, and then I'll be back on Sunday to troll you. Later, Kat.
Bye-bye.
Always a fun time, Kat. Make sure you catch up and subscribe to all of her fun stuff, her fun content. Good times with all you. Yeah, and let us know. Who's your Mount Rushmore? Who's on your pillars? But thanks for joining us for Mount Rushmore Monday.
Who's your hero? Who's your king? Who's the one that makes you swing? Four faces carved in stone, the legends that we all own. Power slams and flying knees. Who brings the crowd down to its knees? Mount Rushmore Mondays. Who's your top four? Legends at the ring, leave you wanting more. Mount Rushmore Mondays, standing tall, the greatest of all time. They've answered the call.